I just wanted to go over a little bit about the history of our baseball program here at Southwestern Christian University. It was the fall of 2013 is the first year we had an SU baseball player on campus. We went into that spring of 2014, and that was the longest spring of my entire life. That team ended the season with 9 wins and 46 losses. Yee. That was a very long year. We get to the end of that first season, and there was another coach here that we were hoping he could come this evening, Coach Broughton, and just want to put it out there and thank him for all that he did for the SU baseball program and helping get us started as well. But we go into that next year, and I remember we brought in a lot of guys, a lot of new guys. We had a lot of conversations, and it was very challenging to be able to get a group of young men to come together after a one-year baseball program that just went 9-46. And in our games that we lost, we didn't have very many 3-2 ball games, and they were more like 24-2. They would score 3 touchdowns and kick a field goal, and we would maybe get a safety. And you guys laugh, but that was the case, and it was day in, day out, week in and week out. We had a baseball facility over at DeLisi Park that was it was basically a field. I mean, I'm not talking about a baseball field. I'm saying a field. Part of the daily practice routine was to pick up rocks, literally, or pull weeds. That was going on often, and we had to wear. We had infielders that would wear mouthpieces because the ball would take hops and you could lose a tooth. We didn't have anything on as far as we didn't have a press box. We didn't have bleachers. We didn't have any concrete at the facility. Our dugouts were these metal dugouts that you had to cover up the holes with them with banners. And that's kind of where we started. We had chain link everywhere, and they were 6 foot. All you needed to make it feel like the great prison experience was just put some barbed wire at the top of it. And you guys laugh, but then we had recruiting visits over at Swadley's, and we were promising of what could come. Haskell's going to talk later. We had over there, and I remember telling him, well, hey, one of these days you can have a sign up at the baseball field with your name on it, and you can invite your family to come out and see your names up there, and that you would have a legacy. Well, guess what? He's got a sign out there at the baseball field. Michael Lowe's same way. We have guys that were here that laid into the program for what it is today. We also, part of that, it's you go into it, and I remember my very first conversation, the guys were in the room, they said, you're going to get stuck with Coach Blackwell to be your coach, because it was kind of like that. We had a transition the second year, 2 days before our first game, and you start thinking and praying about it, and I do thank God every day that I have the opportunity to be here and be able to get to serve at a place like Southwestern Christian and be able to get to serve young men. But you say, what do you want in a baseball program? What did we want? And we came up with hashtags were really popular back at that time. And we came up with hashtag play hard and honor God. And what does that mean? Playing hard, we're just going to give our best each and every day, no matter if it's something that was on the field or off the field, and we were going to honor God. And means basically that was our verbiage for like attitude and effort and everything we're going to do. And we came in and we brought in a bunch of guys, and we had rules around 4-letter words, and we had rules around tobacco and different things that you don't typically have at other places. So that's kind of where it started. And I'll tell you, during that time, and even today, I spend a lot of time at this place personally. A lot of time. I mean, and you wear multiple hats here, so you don't just get to pour all your life into baseball. You have other things you have to do here so you can make a living. And I wanted to say this. My wife's here tonight, and I'm away from the house a lot. And I just wanted to thank you for allowing me to do that. And coaches lose games and players win games. That's the reality of it. It's the truth. Players win ball games. Coaches have to convince them to come to Southwestern Christian University, though, to win ball games. So you have to spend a lot of time recruiting. And when you're recruiting against other schools that are a lot more white collar than what we are here at Southwestern. This is one of the most blue collar places on earth. Everything from, hey, when we first started, we didn't have an indoor. We lost 2 recruits because we didn't have an indoor. We lost recruits because we didn't have a locker room. So what you see here today is an effort of our former players and our current players fundraising to be able to have those things. And the thing that I am probably, when I start going over our highlights of what's happened here since really 2016, that year when we went to our first, that year 2015, we had 30 new baseball players here. And why did you need to bring in that many? Our first year, we did have a losing record. It was 9-46. We had an overall team GPA of 2.2. It was really good. Our grade point average. So we had a team grade point average of a 2.2. We had that meeting where, hey, we're going to bring in a bunch of new guys. And a guy walked out of the huddle and said, how are you going to get anybody to come here when you're 9-46? But we convinced some guys to come. That next year, that team went 26-26, 500. We went to our first postseason in Arkansas at Central Baptist and played in a regional. Here's the incredible thing. You took that same group of guys. The next year, we brought in 2 players, 2, a pitcher and a catcher. That was the only body that we added to the roster. And that same group of young men went 44-17. And we went to our first World Series. Why? Because if you have certain standards and you set a certain culture and young men buy into that culture, then you can accomplish something bigger than what you are. Since then, if I start going over our accomplishments, this is 2016 through today. During that time, we have 316 wins, average of 40 wins per season. We've been in the top 25 in the nation within NAIA. We have qualified after that starting group. We've been in postseason to a World Series of some sort ever since that day. We were the 2024 national champs. We've been in that final game 3 times. We've been in the top 4 other times. We have 55 all-conference academic team members. We have a cumulative, over that time period, guys, not just 1 year, we have an overall 3.41 team GPA. We have the highest graduation rate in our conference, and we've had the highest grade point average in our conference over 6 straight years. We have 34 all-conference players, 46 all-region players, 24 all-Americans. The 2019 Hank Burbridge Christian Character Award winner. 14 players have signed to play professional baseball. And the thing that's really important to me is the correct behavior. Guys have to listen to this all the time. Correct behavior, what does that deliver, fellas? Correct results. Correct behavior delivers correct results. We have 40 plus young men that have accepted Jesus through our baseball program. We have over 90 at this point that have been baptized. We also have, I started counting this up. You know when you start reflecting on things? We have over 80 young men that have been through here the last 10 years that are either police officers, firefighters, serving in the military, teachers, coaches, or on staff at a church. So what does that mean? That means when you start talking about what you want in a program, you don't always see what you want. You just know that this is a school. It's a school of, it's not always the blue blood talent, but you can always have grinders. And a lot of times, if you have high trust, you can accomplish great things. You can have high trust and medium talent in some cases, and you can accomplish great things. Now I'm going to embarrass a few people real quick. I'm going to start off with Mr. Coach Jabez Turner. Jabus came from, where is Jabus at? He's hiding in the back. That makes sense. Jabus came to us as Jabus went to Rose State as a player. He came here, played a few years here, was a Gold Glove outfielder for us, and then he turned into a coach. So what I wanted to do tonight, Jabus has now gone on to brighter, greener pastures. But I wanted to come, if I want you to come up here, and I want to go ahead and present you with your ring. Thank you for all you've done the last few years. The other two young men, I want to say something about them. If you're at nothing has happened here without them. In NCCAA baseball, to have the same coaching staff together for 10 years, I mean, as players, they were here as players. Matter of fact, DJ came here to us as kind of damaged. He has like 15 scars in his shoulder. And I always give them both a hard time because when they both came here, their GPAs were not what right looks like, if that's fair. And I've been in admissions here, and DJ came in one day and showed me his transcript, and I'm like, well, we'll see what we can do. And he came here, left, came back, ended up being helping us as a manager, turned into a coach, and has done everything in the world to support our program. And then we got Kyle Vale. His ERA when he came here was much better than his GPA. He was a great pitcher here. And we've been together for the entire time in some capacity. Kyle was a player. He was a part of that squad that went to our first World Series, and then he's turned into a coach. And then, I mean, he's kind of like a good dog. You just keep feeding him, and he keeps coming back. But we've been here together for a long time, been through a lot of ups and downs. And the way that we defined our roles with each other was this. We were on the way for a signing in Tuttle, America, and we were at Taco Bueno. And I said, what do you guys want to do? It was right when Coach Broughton was leaving the program, and we were transitioning and doing some stuff, and Coach Broughton did a lot. And we were there, and we outlined, you tell me what you like to do, and whatever you guys don't like to do, I will do everything else. That's how we defined it, because I knew that people that really love what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, they will grind right along with you because they get to do what they love. So that's why we defined our roles. They've increased a little bit since that time, and things changed and adjust. But we are the only school in our conference. We are the only school in 5 states. Matter of fact, we may be the only school in NAIA baseball that has a coaching staff that has been together for 10 years. So I wanted to be the one to give you your rings, fellas. So come on up. He just doesn't look the part. All right, with that being said, guys, we're going to go into our next phase. And so I want to bring up Haskell Browning. Michael Lowe is going to be our spokesman tonight. Brandon Guerra, Samuel Ragland, and Kyle Vale. So you guys come up here and have a seat. Y'all can just sit right there in the very middle. And I have a few questions we're just going to ask. This won't take too long tonight, but sometimes it's more important to hear from us, but to hear from some of the guys that were in that very, very first group. And here's what's crazy. You got Sam here. Sam is a local guy. He's on staff at Family Church in Yukon. I got Haskell, which is a high school baseball coach, and among other things. Brandon, sitting here in the middle, he's part of Kicklahoma. He's also a college umpire that never gets to call any of our games, which I'm a little bitter about. But he does a lot of that. And Michael Lowe's also a coach. And then we already mentioned Kyle. So my question is, when we had those conversations, when you guys ended up coming here, why did you guys choose SCU?
All right. So SCU, like he said, it was a pretty wild start. Brandon, were at NOC Tonk. Brandon and Michael actually went to high school together, and I grew up playing with both of them. And then we met Vel later on and Sam later on, but uh, it was pretty wild. We were at our JUCO. Michael was at SNU at the time, um, and I had signed to go play at SNU before I knew anything about this school. I didn't even know the school was here. Um, and then Broughton, which he had been mentioned a couple times, and I wish he would have been here. It would have been fun, but he's a different character. But he had this summer league team called the Bulls, and we have the same kind of story about how we ended up here, but a little different. But we played on the Bulls for this summer and kind of got to knowing Broughton, knowing this school a little bit, and then like I said, we had signed to play over at SNU. Vale, I think you had signed that same year I did, and Lowe was already there playing football and baseball because he's good at just about everything he does, but that's okay. But yeah, so we're all signed to play at SNU. We're playing summer ball for Coach Broughton. And then he kind of just starts putting a bug in our ear, be like, hey, I'm coaching over at SCU, this school over here. We just started baseball. And like, oh, yeah, that's cool. We've never really heard of you or knew anything about it. And he's like, oh, yeah, we just started real small Christian school. And he goes, I think it's going to be, a good time over there, a good program. And we're like, okay. And then he kind of just kept talking to us about it. Every game he'd say something. Every game he said something. Every game he said something. Well, then, we got kind of thinking, well, why don't we just all go over there? We played, Little League growing up together, and we've played a lot of ball together. And we're good athletes. We're good ball players. We play well together. We win ball games. And so it just, got the ball rolling. And then finally, I think about midway through the summer, like, let's do it. And so, being, I don't know, 18, 19-year-olds, we all got the bright idea to go change schools without talking to our parents, without considering anything else. And so we're like, well, before we actually do this, let's give somebody a call and see if we can, do it. And a couple big things, like Blackwell said, you didn't take kids to the field. You didn't take them over to DeLisi because what y'all have now is nothing in comparison to what we played on. When he says you pick rocks, you literally pick rocks. And no dugouts, chain link. The fence was about 100 feet deeper than what y'all play on now. You were lucky to get it back there when we played, which Vale loved because he got hit hard. But no, he took us to Swadley's. Like I said, that was the big recruitment, was Swadley's barbecue, and I'll never forget. Coach Blackwell was the assistant at that time. Broughton was the assistant, and we had this coach KT. He was a different cat, and we didn't really know what we were getting into. And then finally, we all made the decision to come here, chance to play for this school and try to do something special. And it was a fun phone call over to Southern Nazarene coach because it was about 6 of us that was leaving him and coming over here. And I'm pretty sure I think I was the first one to call him. And as soon as I called him, he all knew. I mean, the Bulls practiced at Southern Nazarene. And so he knew all of us. We were playing for Broughton. He knew Broughton really well. And so I think once he got that first phone call, it was all hell was breaking loose. He knew it was coming, and he started making phone calls to these guys. And long story short, we ended up here, and it was different. I walked on at UCO, so I'd been to a pretty big school before, and then leaving there and going to NOC Tonk was more like home. I'm from a small town. And then coming here, it was wild. We had our head coach at the time was pulling kids out of practice to go talk to them in the dugout about random stuff. And, I got all my gear on and I'm sitting in the dugout talking to him about life. And I'm like, trying to do 21 outs. Like, what are we doing here, coach? Trying to get better. And then, like Blackwell said, we kind of, right before the first game, we had a change, and we all came with Broughton. We didn't really know Coach Blackwell at the time very well. We just knew he's kind of the assistant. And then, he took over the reins, and we were all thinking in our head, what did we get ourselves into? Like Southern Nazarene, they got that nice indoor, they got a nice field, they got, big school, and now we don't even have a head coach. And so it was a culture shock. And if, you players, Blackwell pretty well, you know how he is. He wasn't any different back then, maybe even a little worse. We butted head quite a bit, and Broughton was, I wouldn't say the total opposite, but he was about 5'1", redhead, and had short man syndrome. And so one of my favorite things was Broughton, and this started way back with the Bulls. Broughton would go through about 20 fungos a year because he would break them over his knee and throw them against the fence and throw them and yell at us and all this other stuff. Well, Blackwell got tired of buying him fungos, and so he bought metal fungos. And so we got a little fiery redhead, 5'1" coach out there hitting just missiles at us with metal fungos. And then we made him mad one practice, and he got even madder that he couldn't break the fungo over his knee. So he chunked it against the chain link fence, kicked us off the field, and as he's going to the parking lot, we're like, all right, guys, let's set it up for BP. Let's go. And so that's one thing that stuck to me, and I think that's kind of what brought us together and kind of what started it all was, we were so close, man. Everything we did, and it started way back in Little League, just playing together. And that's another cool thing about what brought us here is we knew each other our whole life. And then kind of a side note, another thing that kind of made my decision a little easier was at the time, I have a brother that's 2 years younger than me. He was graduating high school, and he actually signed with Southwestern Christian before I did. And so being able to play with my little brother was another thing that was super cool, and not a lot of people get that chance. So that's kind of, that's what brought me here anyways.
Well, my name's Samuel. I was a pitcher at Southwestern, and I actually prefer the fence a little farther back. I didn't hate that, so I like that. But I'm from Ponca City, originally up north, and in high school, I didn't know, where I was going to go to college at. Honestly, if you ask my parents, they'd tell you all I cared about was sports, and I just wanted to play baseball somewhere. And I wasn't recruited to go anywhere. At the time, I wasn't, I didn't know what my plan was going to be. I guess I was going to go to NOC in Tonkawa because that was the closest school to Ponca City. And I met actually a person that I'm on church staff with now. His name's Chad Pugh, and he was at our high school doing some, recruiting there and stuff for Southwestern, and kind of put the bug in my ear about the school, and I knew DJ McDaniel and his dad Darren from Ponca City when they used to live there, and DJ was gonna come to school here, and that also put the bug in my ear. I was like, okay, maybe I'll go there as well. And then y'all told me about the baseball program starting, and then Darren connected me with the coach, and that's how I ended up at Southwestern. So kind of a short, sweet, and simple story, but that's how I ended up here. So.
To answer, you're right.
I'm Michael Lowe. I'm third to go. Well, Haskell just told my life story, basically. So, short story short is that I went to Southern Nazarene. I was at Southern Nazarene. I knew Haskell before Southern Nazarene. I grew up with him, so I was like, I'm not having a good time here. I don't think you're gonna like it, and I was ready to get out of there, and the legend Tim Broughton, he brought us over from the Bulls team, and I mean, we all got together. I knew other guys that were also coming to SCU, and I thought I was going to have a good time. I knew I was going to have a better time from Southern Nazarene, and I did, and I really enjoyed coming to SCU. Yep.
Are you number 4?
I'm Kyle Bell. A little bit different story. I did play on the Bulls with these guys. But I had an independent ball tryout. Blackwell talked to me first about coming here, and Gateway Grizzlies went up there. Most independent ball teams, they have turf fields, so you can't wear spikes. I was wearing $10 flats from Walmart, and the kind of turf they had is the longer you threw on it, the more wear and tear it got. The sand started to seep up. So first pitch, I drove down the mound, slipped, threw the ball straight up, and about 5 hours later, I'm calling Broughton. Don't need another arm? And he told me to go meet Blackwell in the office, and I can't tell you this, that if I wouldn't have came here, I never would have got my degree. So, but this place has made a big change in who I am.
I'd have to say that the biggest reason why I chose Southwestern Christian was for opportunity. Opportunity to further my education, to continue playing baseball. I was done playing baseball before Haskell texted me one day and said, "Hey, they're having a tryout at DeLisi. You should go." I said, I haven't thrown a baseball since May. I'm good. He convinced me to go. Next day I went. I met the head coach. I met Joe. I met Tim. And true story about this field, guys. This field was terrible. I've seen terrible baseball fields in my life. This was awful. But, again, it was a full grass infield the day I showed up. But, yeah, and also an opportunity to be part of something special. Haskell mentioned that we were part of 2 junior college teams, and maybe not excellent on the field, but excellent brotherhood. Could rely on any of those guys now, just like I can my 2 teams here. And again, like I said, special. We're here 8, 9 years later, celebrating a different team just because we were part of one of the teams. So, that's what I got. We'll start over here.
Okay. We're going to go with a 2-parter to end this. Tell me a little bit. I mean, some of you guys have mentioned some of your experiences here. 2 things. Tell me about your experience being part of SCU and also the baseball program. Along with that, what is some advice that you could give to some of our current student athletes?
My experience here at SCU was I bounced around quite a few colleges, never really stuck. Came here and there's more of a small town kind of vibe, and it was a good place for me. It was normal to walk by somebody you didn't know and they stop and pray for you or pray for me a couple times. Definitely probably the most friendliest place I've ever been, and probably the most welcoming feeling I've ever had. I can also say for the baseball team, I've never been close to a group of guys. Every bit of my success, they are just as much responsible for as I am. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Haskell taking shots to the throat or kissing Lowe's finger at Wayland Baptist on the infield because he jammed it. But I wouldn't have been half of what I am, success or even person-wise, if it weren't for these guys. Every day, breakfast, workouts, every night, we were always together. I've never felt another kind of family like this than I ever have. My piece of advice to you guys nowadays is it goes by faster than you realize. And when it's gone, you will miss it. I have nights where I enjoy thinking about the times I had with these guys. They're some of the best memories I ever had. But they definitely made me who I am today.
I'll go second. All right. So my experience here, kind of like Bill said, we had been to a few different places, and I come from a small town out of Luther, and going to UCO was a culture shock for me. Going to NOC Tonk was closer to home, and then coming here, it really felt like home. The professors, they really care about you. They really want you to succeed. You're not just another number. You're not just another kid. I think most of my history classes, I had 5 students in, and it was more like a one-on-one kind of deal to where the professor actually cared and wanted you to learn rather than just, getting up there and speaking, getting their paycheck and going on. And like Vale said, I truly believe if I didn't come here, I don't know if I finish out and I graduate and have a degree and do what I'm doing now. But I don't know. What was the second part of that? Advice, okay. Advice. So here's what I'll
They've
say.
had these questions like for 3 weeks. Just want to put that out there.
Like I said, if I didn't come here, I don't know if I graduate. But no. Advice to you guys. You're not going to miss Blackwell yelling at you at 5 o'clock in the morning and running the sand pit. You're not going to miss, running on and off the field for how many seconds did you? 12 seconds. Didn't we have 11 or 10?
You guys were overachieved. You had to set the standard sometime.
But you won't miss that. You won't miss, Blackwell's sarcasm. You won't miss, Vail being Vail. You won't miss that stuff, man. You won't even miss the games. But you will miss the guys around you and what y'all do, hanging out at the hotel before a game or hanging out, in the locker room, which we didn't have. But you'll miss that stuff. Okay, you'll miss your guys next to you. So my advice is just cherish it. Okay, don't like I said, you won't miss the ball of it, but you'll miss your guys.
Well, I kind of have a little different experience. Just saying, because I didn't go to other colleges, so I'm just a SCU boy. Only been to college here, but my experience here, I would say, was pretty great. I mean, I met my wife here, so that's pretty good. So yeah. Oh yeah. So it was great. I do agree with them, like talking about the relationships you build. I feel like that's one of the biggest things you take away from going to college is just the relationships you build with people. And I feel like SCU is a place that that really cares about you. Like they said, you're not just another number here, and I appreciated that. I really valued that you're just not another number, that people care about you. And this campus, this school is a place that just gives you the opportunity to build relationships that'll last longer than, just while you're at school here. You're not just a number. You're able to build relationships with people and enjoy that part of it, because really relationships with people, the experiences we go through, that's the important stuff. All the extra stuff is great, but, man, people are what matter. So, but my piece of advice from a baseball perspective, I was thinking about this question. I feel like with these guys, I couldn't hold a candle to these guys up here, to be honest with you, playing ball, because they were awesome. But I would say, whatever role you're in, playing, or whatever you do, whether you're playing baseball, maybe your job in the future, your family, your friends, whatever role you're in, is just find what you're good at and then be the best you can be at that, because like we all have different giftings. We all have different roles we play on a team, whether it be baseball, but whether it be some other thing you're doing in your life. But just find what you're good at and be the best you can be at what your role is. And what a difference it would be if we would just humble ourselves and play the best role we can. Like I said, I was a relief pitcher, and these guys were insanely awesome, but I wanted to do the best job I could for these guys and just play my part on the team. And then the other thing is, I would encourage you to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. That's one thing that I feel like the Lord's been hammering in my brain in this season of life, because there's so many things that go on in our lives. There's so many things that grab our attention and pull our attention different ways. And as you guys know, I mean, you have eyes and ears in the world around us. There's so many things that grab our attention, but there's nothing better than seeking first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, because he'll provide what you need. So.
Good luck topping that one. I'd say here, Sam said it the best. The small community that we had here at Southwestern Christian was amazing, awesome. I hung out with people that I not normally would hang out with. One of my best friends on campus was an English soccer player. At my junior college, we did not associate with soccer players, and I know everybody here mixed well, got along well. As for baseball, our team, we're always super tight. We were a bunch of misfits that got together. We had a little cool acronym instead of SCU, standing for Southwestern Christian. We were Second Chance University, and that fit us so well. Seventh Chance University. I'm sorry. Kyle was part of both of those teams. But again, we got along really well. Always buddy-buddy, you know. We didn't have any cliques on either of those teams. I enjoyed it. I miss it at times. At times, you know, we got new families now. But my advice to you guys would be, and this is important because we're going to talk about adult life for a little bit, is respect your time. Do it to the fullest because like these two guys said, it's only here for a certain amount of time. But at the same time, do it as correctly as you can because you have other guys doing their job, Joe, Daniel, Kyle, other coaches on this staff that are taken away from their families, their kids, their wives. I promise you guys, every parent in here has made that sacrifice to be away from their family, to do something more. And that's what I wanted to leave you guys with is do your best at all times because that's all we ask for, and that's all your coaches ask for.
Well, all right. Well, SU experience. It was fun. Like they said, there was a lot of homegrown feel to it. There was about, I think the percentage of kids that went to SU when we went there was like 75% were student athletes, and that was pretty cool. It's just knowing these guys are shooting the dream just like we are, and we connected that way, and it was fun. Going to their games and seeing them at our games, that was a cool experience, and just to for your advice, I would just live it up, have fun. You always play baseball when you always play your best baseball when you're having fun. So always have fun, live it up, okay? Embrace it. Don't take it for granted, okay? Thanks, guys.
One last thing, okay? Like Coach Blackwood said, you know, every team's got their hashtag, their motto, whatever. Our motto, we're the party crashers, and we came up with that because we were one season. I think, what'd you say, 9 wins that first season?
Yeah, 9 illustrious wins.
And we came in, and you guys, you know, when you get a new school in the conference, like that's not very good. You know how they act. Okay, we were that team. They did not like us. They did not like that they had to play us. They did not. They thought that we shouldn't even be on the same field as them. And so that was kind of our motto going into it. And like you said, we went 500 that first year. And then, you know, the 2016 year, we won 40-plus games and went to the World Series and kind of crashed their party. But as an alumni, now little brother's playing on the, you know, the national championship team, getting to watch you guys, not only, you know, it's your party. Like, that's what's cool about it is you're no longer crashing it. Like, you're that team. So I want to thank you all as a proud alum, you know, going up there and watching that. Like, that's a pretty cool feeling seeing you guys, you know, go out and do that. And enough of us has-beens talking. Let's get to the real reason we're here.
All right, let's do that. Thank you guys so much. But all right, well, we'll give a little bit of a here in a moment. I'm going to give a little bit of a recap of our World Series, what we were looking at, kind of what we were facing going into it, what the outcomes were. And then we'll get directly into presenting our rings to our 2024 national champs. I will say this, going into that week of the World Series, matter of fact, we just played a series against Wayland Baptist, and our first time in our school's history, Wayland Baptist swept us. And I knew that we were going to get offered a bid, and that large bid to go to the World Series. And I'm thinking, do we want to go spend all this money and go up here and make a really bad showing? So I brought our team together right after that series, and I said, I don't want to take you guys, hoping that we would get the response that we got. And deep down, you guys don't know this, but it was a bluff on my part. We were going. Okay, we were going. But so we go into that. We go into the conference tournament, and we played better. We had a couple of one-run losses. We thought with some base running, some things we needed to work on. So we spent a lot of time working on those things leading up to the World Series. But no problem. That's Daddy Browning right there. But no, we go into that. We had some challenges at practices and different things going into that week. We go up there, and we were the 6th seed. So what does that mean? That means you got to beat the 3 seed. That means you got to beat the 2 seed. And if you can win, you got to beat the 1 seed. So, and all those teams had really good records. Everything was going well. Well, we get in the first game, and we took care of business against the University of Fort Lauderdale. Then we get to play the number 2 seed, which was the champion from the year before, Concordia out of Michigan. And they come out and put 5 runs on us in the first inning. So we put up 6 in the bottom of the first. And it was just kind of, at that point, everybody was kind of bought in. We had a night at the hotel where the lights went out. And everybody knows this because the entire place shut down and the electricity, we had no electricity in the hotel and I'm asleep. I'm out. And our phone starts ringing in the hotel room because we had started these chants, or they had started this noise in the dugout. They had the entire hotel with the lights out. Everybody was in the halls on like 7 or 8 floors with their phones out, waving them. And I'm getting a call saying, you need to get your boys quiet, because they had the whole entire hotel chanting this at that night. That team's basically back this year. But we go into it, and then we face Oakland City, which was the number 1 seed. We jumped all over them, and we scored 8 runs right out of the gate. They end up coming back and beating us late in the game, 11-9. So now we know, okay, now we're going to have to go in the losers bracket. We play College of the Ozarks, which is a team we played earlier in the year, and we beat the brakes off of them 10-0. And then we know it's going to be the final day, and you got to play this Oakland City team that beat you once, and you got to beat them twice. Well, here's the crazy thing. We get down there for the first day of practice before this thing started. And I want to say this. Everybody knows who your dudes are. You're going into it. You got your All-Americans. You got your All-Region guys. Everybody knows who your dudes are. Every other team knows who those guys are. It's the guys that aren't your dudes that make the difference in those tournaments, because your guys are going to show up. We had an injury right before it started. George Gomez, All-Americans, hit 400 since birth. He gets hurt. And the guys that know me, I am mad that he's injured. That's where I was. I was frustrated and mad. And then we got this guy named Joey Thornton. Hadn't played. He's played a role, but he hadn't played considerably all year. I think he ends up hitting 427 for the week, 3 doubles and a triple. I didn't know who he was. I had to introduce myself after the tournament was over. But he played incredible. It was that whole mentality of, I don't have to get ready, I'm always ready, coach, type guy. Then we get going in, and we're playing the Concordia, and when they jumped all over us, we had to pull our starter early, and a guy named Corey Yates filled it up first. Just came in and pitched, I don't know how many innings, but it was the same thing. Who's this guy? Then you get to the final game. We had game 1, and I just thrown Henry Agondo and Gabriel Figueroa, those 2 guys. They've been our top 2 arms since they've been here. They won 2 every weekend for 3 years. Well, Henry just pitched the night before when we won 10-0. So we know we're playing Oakland City, and I got, okay, well, Figgy's going to come back, and he's going to have a shortened rest, but I feel pretty good about that game. And we go win 10-6. And I'm like, and then Agondo's in the parking lot that morning. He's like, Coach, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm ready to start. Well, he starts the final game. And I think we gave up a 3 spot pretty quick, just because me and my lack of coaching knowledge is probably overusing them a little bit at that point, just trying to grab at it. But we have this guy named Zachary Gaudreau. he comes in that game and pitches lights out. I mean, just one inning after. If we got in trouble, we got out of it. Just one after another. And we were down in that game early, 3-1. And it was that way for a long time. It got down to 5-1. And then later in the game, we hit 4 doubles in a row and scored and got ahead of them 6-5. And then we just held on. And then Mr. Gamlin came in to close it out for us. I will say on that last ball he fielded, we do not teach PFPs that way. But he did, but he got the final out. Now, I will say this. Things happen for a reason. The first inning of that game, we'd played Concordia earlier in the tournament. And this is probably the most brilliant coaching move we've made since we've been here. We played Concordia early in the tournament, and they had this big old guy, and they would bat their catcher at the bottom of the lineup. And in NAI, you can run for your catcher. Okay, so, and they put their first baseman, which wasn't really fast, and they listed him as their catcher on the lineup card. And I'm like, we talked about it. I'm like, that's genius. So now you can run for this guy in the first inning if you don't get down to the bottom for your catcher. So we got to the last game, and we're the visitors. So I thought, Dari is a lot of things. He was hitting 3-hole for us, but a speedster's not one of those. He's a lot of things. But they go in and they get the first 2 outs. Boom, boom. Well, Dari comes up. Dari gets on base. We listed Dari. Dari was our third baseman. We listed him as the catcher. And you're seeing some of those things don't matter. We listed him as the catcher, and we get to put Ayers in to run bags. Sometimes it's not about the role you play. It's sometimes you always think you want a little more, but you also have those guys that will do whatever it takes to help your team win, and Kyle Ayers is one of those guys. So he's running bags, and Gag comes up and hits a double. There is no way Dari is scoring from first base. No, you just hit a bomb, Dari. You wouldn't have to worry about it, right? But Ayers comes around. We send him. Bang, bang, play at the plate. 1 run, scored the 1 run. Then later in the game, Dari comes up again and gets on base. But since now he's listed as third baseman, you can run for him again, and then he can re-enter. So we were able to put a runner in for him then again, and then we hit a little weak ground ball to second base. Mr. Boone hit that little weak, and then all of a sudden, we got runners on first and second because we were able to do those things, and we ended up winning a 1-run ball game. So those little things that probably nobody else notices going on, we know that that's happening at that time. But I told these guys for years, I mean, you have to get breaks to win that thing. You have to get breaks. And God blesses you with breaks. And we were blessed in that moment. So with that being said, I'm gonna have go ahead and cue up that video for our World Series video. This is our highlights from the World Series. So you guys enjoy, and then we'll have Mr. Stephen Davis come up and do the ring announcements.
Guys, like Coach Blackwell says, you have 12 seconds to get up here. From Moore, Oklahoma, junior, Kyler Ayers. From Lukiba, Oklahoma, sophomore, Corey Yates. From Forney, Texas, senior, Zane Banfield. From Vernon, Texas, junior, Joseph Boone. From Cashin, Oklahoma, junior, Hayden Branch. From Luther, Oklahoma, sophomore, Braden Browning. From Newcastle, Oklahoma, junior, Jake Cox. From Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, junior, Mozart Duarte. From Santo Domingo, senior, Gabriel Figueroa. From Newcastle, Oklahoma, freshman James Folsom. From Montreal, Canada, junior Métis Gagnon. From Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, junior Matt Gamblin. From Montreal, Canada, junior Zach Goudreau. From Santo Domingo, junior George Gomez. From Quebec, Canada, junior Alex Herons. From Tulsa, Oklahoma, junior Alex Newell. From Santo Domingo, senior Henry Ogando. From Tulsa, Oklahoma, senior Connor O'Malley. From Santo Domingo, sophomore Dario Paredes. From Gainesville, Texas, junior Drake Sparks. From Tulsa, Oklahoma, sophomore Tyler Stelly. From Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, junior Joey Thornton. From Dale, Oklahoma, freshman Cash Van Brunt. And not here tonight. From Vernon, Texas, senior Tyler Reeves. From Oklahoma City, freshman Nathan Ritchie. And from Santo Domingo, junior Ariel Tejada. And now, ladies and gentlemen, in his 10th year as coach of the SCU Eagles, never had a losing season with a 64% winning percentage, the 2024 NCCAA Coach of the Year, Joe Blackwell.
Well, let's give it up for your 2024 national champions.